Hey gang, Eldritch Moon is fast approaching, so this week I thought we'd do a highlight on one of the new legendaries from the set, one who wants to be played like a tribal deck, which as you all know is something near and dear to my heart. This is Garofalo. This is Gisa and Geralf. So there is a lot of potential choices when it comes to a zombie EDH deck. We've got a real history of cards to choose from, as zombies are one of the most popular tribals, and plus they're just cool. With so many choices for commanders, it's hard to pick. I think it's pretty clear from the title and the thumbnail of this video that we're going to be really giving a hard look at Gisa and Geralf. But let's give the other commanders their fair chance. First up, we have Ghoul-Caller Gisa. She's mono black, she isn't a zombie, but she does have great activated abilities for zombies. She's nothing special, but not overall horrible. Next up is her brother Stitcher Geralf. He's mono blue, he also isn't a zombie, but again he does have an ability that it makes some. It's a bit strange and it'll exile your own cards, but you could potentially get one big zombie out of his activation. Again, not great, not bad. For two color generals, we've mostly got Grimgrin. Grimgrin is a zombie, that's for sure. He has some interesting abilities and synergizes well with other zombies like Gravecrawler, but so do most of the other generals in this list. He's easily disrupted by our opponents by killing our creatures, so the really only benefit to him is that he's a zombie and he's in the two colors that we want to look at. Looking at three colors, Lord of Tresser is one of the earliest Grixis zombie generals, and that's about the best you can say about him. Sure, he has decent power, but he doesn't come with trample. I guarantee that after being chumped a few times by 0/1s, all those things you had to give up when casting him are going to make you wish you hadn't. Next we have Thrax surfing his way in from Alara. Beyond being in the relevant colors and being a zombie, his ability doesn't really do anything except for himself. On the flip side, the less aggressive cousin of his, Cedrus, also hits the first two perks, being blue and black, plus he's a zombie. What makes Cedrus stand out more for me is the fact that he'll give all of our creatures in the graveyard unearth. This is thematic gold, and frankly, one of the best mechanics we could hope for in a zombie deck. Unfortunately, their creatures are going to get exiled in most circumstances. We also can't forget about Cdc Brood Tyrant. She's three colors, and green does have a surprising amount of zombies. She isn't a zombie herself, but one of her abilities does make them. Her biggest drawback is probably that she really wants you to play with a real dredge/large graveyard style of play, since her ability will trigger on enter the battlefield and on her attacks. This can set us up to get blown out quite easily, so I'm not really sure she's exactly what we want. So that leaves us with Gisa and Geralf. They aren't zombies themselves, but they're wizards, which are a great tribal type, plus they're in the best color pairing for making a tribal zombie deck, in my opinion. Sure, red is nice for filtering effects, but blue does it well, and there really aren't that many red zombies worth playing. They're also thematically on point, as the lore has them both being well-known connoisseurs of the undead species. The Gruesome Twosome also has two very synergistic abilities, one triggered and one kind of passive or activated? I don't know what you'd call it exactly, but they're great. One fuels your graveyard while the other acts exactly like Carador does, only in a more limited capacity. This allows us to create a really good blue-black graveyard toolbox-based commander deck. So we know what they do, we know what else there is, now let's look at what we can include. First up is Gravecrawler. It's pretty much a no-brainer. You'll nearly always be able to cast it provided you have a graveyard. It's a great card to sacrifice, it dies to Skullclamp if you have no lords out, and at its very worst is just a good creature to turn sideways. Cdc Undead Vizier, surprise surprise, is a zombie. She's already made a pretty large mark on EDH with her ability to not only kill one of our creatures, but reap the benefit by tutoring for any card by doing so. Not a lot of people do it, but she can actually exploit herself. Want to know what makes her even better? Being able to cast her every turn if we have her in the graveyard. Moving on to our next zombie, Lich Lord of Unks serves two purposes. First, he makes us some pretty cool zombie wizard tokens, which naturally get my full attention, and secondly, he provides us with a decent way to kill our opponents. Two really good reasons to run him for 3 mana is a great deal. I'd suggest running a decent amount of clones for good measure. Phyrexian Metamorph and Clever Impersonator are probably the forerunners, followed quickly by Phantasmal Image. Having access to clones can really make a tribal deck shine, as in a pinch they can act as extra lords to swing for lethal, or, if that route isn't viable, clone something vitally important to help you win. Plus, Metamorph and Impersonator are not limited to only being creatures, so that's a really big perk for them. Now, we're going to get a little bit serious here. I'm sure people are going to try and jam Undead Alchemist into these decks without a second thought, but honestly, I'm not too sold on him for Gisa and Geralf. His ability is cool and all, and he does make us more zombies, but missing out on combat damage to players is not exactly how we want to be doing things. By running him, you're effectively increasing your life total of your opponents by whatever amount of cards are left in their library. Unless you're milling them very, very hard, this is probably higher than 40. Bear this in mind, your mileage will vary with this card. You know what? I'd probably still run Ghoul-Caller Gisa, Grimgrin, and maybe even Stitcher Geralf in the deck. They're fun cards with the first two being powerful in their own right. Their place in your deck will depend on how heavily you favor flavor over function. Ooh, that was a mouthful. Naturally, we're going to want to run ways to dump stuff into our yard. Entomb and Buried Alive are efficiently costed and incredibly powerful cards in EDH, but we're also going to want to run cards like Corpse Connoisseur. Connoisseur isn't just a great value creature, he's also fully on theme, being both a zombie and a wizard. To make things even more enticing, we can recur him without Gisa and Geralf on the field. This card is an A+ in my books. This next card will remain on the screen for exactly as long as I had to think about including it. Are you ready? Did you see it? Did you? Yeah, it was Rooftop Storm. This enchantment was made for this kind of deck. Unless you're going for a super cutthroat deck, in which case you might want to look somewhere else for a commander, this spell will work wonders for you. Casting zombies for literally 0 is awesome. Do you see any downside for running Fact and Fiction in a graveyard deck? I don't. Fact or Fiction is essentially a really fun way to make your opponents have a hard choice at the end of one of their turns. If there is no visible graveyard hate on the field, chances are, no matter what pile you pick, you're still going to come out ahead. Dread Summons, one of the new cards from the most recent, at least for the date of this video's publications, Commander set, is a great card to consider. It causes us to mill cards from everyone and gain zombies based on how many creatures we hit. This isn't bad for an X black investment. For our deck, Zombie Apocalypse is almost as good as Living Death, but it doesn't mean you should only run one. I'd say run both, with the off chance that Apocalypse will wipe out some of your opponent's creatures for good funsies. Lastly, I'm not going to go into the lords. Zombies have a ton of them, and some are more expensive than others, so honestly it's all about your budget when it comes to which you'll run. In my case, since you guys know how much I love Tribal, and I have most of them already, I will probably run all of them. I'm really excited to see what Gisa and Geralf will bring in terms of deck building. Sure, they're forcing a very niche style, which is tribal, but there's a lot of creative wiggle room in terms of how you can build the deck. Well gang, those are my thoughts on Gisa and Geralf. Did you enjoy my comparison? Do you think they'll make a good tribal commander? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.